What's going on, fam? Oh, speaking of fam, I thought I'd show you a little Ollie. He's making his debut on Slow Cooking with Grandpa. Can you say hi, Ollie? Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Yeah, so part of the fam came to visit us. There's my daughter just zooming in right now. Hey, Jenbug. Here's Ollie. Say hi, Auntie Jenna. Yep. Can you say hi to Auntie Jenna? Hi, Auntie. I love you, Auntie. Uncle Javaris, I love you. Can you smile at all? Can you give us a little smile? There's a little grin. So, welcome, world. This is Ollie, and he wanted to say hi to everybody on Grandpa's show. All right. We're going to give him off to Mom and Dad. So what's going on, everybody? It's good to see you. So we're going to get started today. This is actually a pretty crazy day because I'm about to release the world famous recipe for my secret recipe of sloppy dogs. The name sounds just as crazy as it is. It's as simple as this. It's sloppy joes on top of a dog, but the deliciousness is really out of this world. It's pretty world famous. The history of the sloppy dog is, it's kind of diverse, but we were at a tailgate and used to do a lot of tailgates back at Old Chadron State, my alma mater, where I used to play football. Then I was the chaplain for the team a little bit. We had a ministry there, and so part of our ministry was doing tailgates before every one of the football games. Love to do a tailgate, right? Who doesn't love tailgating? So we had hot dogs. We also had sloppy joes. And one of our students says, I wonder what it would be like if we put these together. And there was born the sloppy dog. It's probably one of the most delicious things you'll ever eat, but it comes with a warning. I don't know how many calories per a sloppy dog. It just depends, but that's the warning I'm giving you. It's a lot. So let's get started. We're going to get started with, today we're going to do the version of the sloppy dog that I call the campfire version. There's different versions, and as we go along, I'll give you some of those tips as well. But today, which is the campfire version, is probably my favorite version of the sloppy dog. It was really kind of a fan favorite at the tailgates. Takes a little bit more than work than sometimes you want to do in a tailgate. But as we're getting ready to go this summer, and we're all hoping and we're praying that COVID-19 hasn't scrapped the football season. I know that. I want to see those Sun Devils play. I want to see the Huskers play. I want to see all sorts of college football going on. Who doesn't love college football? So we're getting started here today in the midst of the craziness that's going on in this world. Let me tell you, I don't know if I've ever experienced this. And in fact, I know I haven't. Or maybe I have, and I just haven't had my eyes open to it. But, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about George Floyd. I'm talking about Minnesota. I'm talking about the craziness that's going on. I kind of feel like maybe how they might have felt back in the 60s, what's going on in the world. But so I hope today maybe just to talk a little bit about what can we do as a small group. Just, us with our sphere of influence. So we're getting started here with part of the campfire, the toppings. We're going to get some fried potatoes going. That's why I'm cutting these onions up right here. As you can maybe tell, I do love myself some fried potatoes. Going to bring this over here. We're going to talk a little bit about the sloppy dog. You're going to see some of the ingredients, all the ingredients. We're going to go with 85 lean, so that's 15% fat. That's the meat that we use for my slop. Now, the whole thing about this recipe is really all about the slop. Because anybody can make, a hot dog on a grill. Anybody can make a Polish dog on a grill, but not everybody can make a delicious slop. If you've ever been to potlucks at your church, you've probably had the opportunity to eat pretty good slop, but what I'm guessing is you've never had slop this good. And if you have, somehow they got my secret recipe. I'm giving it to you today. This is something that I've actually held on to and kept close to my chest because I don't like to give out this recipe because it kind of makes it, I don't know, maybe there's some nuance to that, but anyway, so you start with, and the recipe I'm making for you today isn't really going to be your standard tailgate recipe. If you're going to do that, just double everything that I'm doing today. It makes quite a few sloppy dogs. I'm going to do 2.5 pounds of beef, and then everything else is halved as well. Normally I use one of those big logs, but I'm not feeding a whole bunch of people at a tailgate today. I'm just feeding me and Jody, who is vegetarian, so she won't eat it, and then my son and my daughter-in-law, Nikki, who's never had a sloppy dog. This is actually her first, so I'm excited about that. Spices. We're going to start with garlic powder. All right. And I'm going to probably see people tune in for this because they've been asking me for this recipe for a while. I got college students that ask me. What's funny is I've made it for church events, and I've had wives of husbands text me, email me, asking me for this recipe because their husbands loved it. So we got onion salt or powder, garlic powder, pepper. You're asking me how much, I don't know. So I'm not going to give you the entire recipe because you're going to have to figure that out. Salt. We're just going to cook the hamburger up just like that. Pretty easy on the spices. Again, when I make these kinds of things, it's kind of like my meatloaf. I don't like big hunks of anything in it. Who's this? Jamie Knapp says, he loved the nonchalant way of putting in garlic powder. You like that? I knew you would. So actually, Jamie Knapp's had one of my world famous sloppy dogs. And why do I call my food world famous? Well, I can tell you that people all over the world have had a sloppy dog. In fact, people used to come early to the football games at Shadron just to have a sloppy dog. We gave them away. It was pretty excellent. Jody's smiling over here in the living room, and because I'm kind of nostalgic about my sloppy dogs. So we're going to peel some potatoes, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit. Oh, I wanted to show you something real quick. I brought this out today. I thought I'd bring out my dress blue uniform because I wanted to talk to you a little bit about it. But you can see over here, these are my personal medals that I received. There's my rank, how many years I was in, my 6-month tours overseas over here. This is a unit that I deployed with, one of them. And the thing that I really wanted to show you was this red medal right there. And that's called the Meritorious Unit Citation. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the muck, we call it. But yeah, just if you wanted to look at that, it's kind of looking a little bit rough. It's been in a pack for a while. I haven't touched it in a while, but I'm proud of that. But I'm really proud of the Meritorious Unit Citation. And why would I bring up the muck on my show today? Well, because I was thinking about everything that's going on in our world. And I was thinking about my time in the military. Being in the military is not an individual sport. It's a team sport. It's something that we do, and those of us that have served, we understand the inability to handle problems alone. In fact, you need a team to do it. And when we were in Iraq and we were going on combat missions, every one of us had to work together so that we would stay alive, And what was great about the muck is that it says that our unit was meritorious, or it was kind of valorous, and we deserve merit for what we did. What we did. We wouldn't have made it through that time without one another. And so what's that got to do with today? Well, I think, as you can tell by looking around, we're in need right now in our world, in our nation especially, for somebody to act meritoriously, for somebody to realize that we need to work as a unit, as a people, black, white, brown, yellow, red, all of us. We have to be able to see that we're hurting one another, that there's been people groups that have been oppressed. There have been people groups that have been enslaved. There have been people groups. All these things have happened under our watch in the United States. And maybe, just maybe, now's the time we could start working as a unit. We could start working together to pray through this, to get through this, to help one another through this, to forgive one another, to ask for forgiveness, to do all the things that you need to do to live in community together. Living in community is kind of ugly sometimes, but it can also be very beautiful. It just takes somebody to act meritoriously. It takes somebody like you and me to decide, hey, it's worth it to me that my community, my sphere of influence, because we all have a sphere. One way or another, you know that you have a sphere of influence in your life. Start working within your sphere of influence to make a difference, to make changes. You know what's going on in your sphere. You know what you're doing. You know what people around you are doing. Start to speak out. Start speaking out in love, of course. Do it in love. You know what's going on in Minnesota right now, and a lot of different places there are riots and all of those things. You know they're angry, right? And they have every right to be angry. There's anger going on, and it's an emotional time. You're an emotional being. I'm an emotional being. We have feelings that get hurt. We have feelings that cause us to do things. I mean, that's the facts, right? Use your sphere of influence to start making a difference. That's all I'm saying. Because if we can do that, then together as a unit, as a mankind, maybe we can start making changes that better everybody's people group. You know what I'm saying? I would love for that to happen in my time, in my day, for the vision, for the dreams that Martin Luther King had. That was in the 1960s, by the way, quite a while ago, before I was even born, still haven't come to pass completely. We have work to do in our country, and I think that if we work together, we can do something about it. But we have to decide to do that. We have to decide, do we want the individual ribbons and medals that come along with living, or do we want the meritorious unit citation where we all work together? And I would hope that you would take some lessons from us veterans, some men and women who have went down range, have seen hell, have come back. We realize that we would have never made it through it without working with one another. There's veterans in your community, in your sphere. I promise you, if you'd ask them, they'd let you know about it. They'd let you know, hey, this is how we got through. All right, let's check out our slop. I'm just kind of cooking it slow. Sloppy Joe mix doesn't take a long time to make. You're also going to notice when I make my slop that I'm not going to drain the oil off the slop, and there's a reason for that actually, and it's not a healthy reason. But the reason I do it is because this is, to me, really it's a tailgate food. So I usually put my slop. What's funny is I used to carry it because I would make about 30 pounds of slop, and I would carry it in 5-gallon buckets to the tailgate, and then I would have these metal pans on my grill, and I would pour the slop in there, kind of like, slopping the pigs, if you will. But I would do that, and the oil that's in the beef, while it sets on a grill for a long time, it keeps it moist instead of drying out. So if you're gonna take the slop to a tailgate, just leave the grease in there, because inside your grill, as you're keeping it warm, it's going to eventually dry out. So those of you that have had my sloppy dog, you know that it's not a greasy dog, because that's just the way I've learned how to create it. So, all right, let me get over here. Let's get these onions fired up in some oil. Like to make fried potatoes in cast iron. It's good stuff that way. All right, so I used about maybe a quarter of a small onion. I didn't use a bunch. I'm not doing a bunch of potatoes. Because like I said, I'm not cooking for a whole bunch of people. All right, the campfire sloppy dog. This is another ingredient for the campfire portion. Pork and beans, I'm gonna open those up. By the time we get this finished, and I've already cooked the hot dogs out on the grill. I didn't put you through that pain with me. It's about 111 degrees today in Phoenix. I was out grilling some hot dogs a little bit earlier. I didn't want you to... You're in the air conditioning with me right now, so be happy about that. All right, we're going to get our beans rolling back here. Just some regular old pork and beans, and you can add things to it. You can do whatever you want. I just like the regular pork and beans on the campfire. So what are some other versions of the sloppy dog? You can do just the original, the OG, if you will, which is just a Polish dog on a bun with my world famous secret recipe, now revealed, slop. I do like to use Polish dogs. It gives it a certain flavor, but you can use all beef dogs. You can use just regular hot dogs. In fact, if all you have is regular hot dogs, this slop will be the salvation of your hot dog, because nobody really likes just regular old plain hot dogs unless you're at the ballpark. And since none of us can go to the ballpark right now because we're in the midst of a pandemic, what a great way to utilize your crummy old hot dogs. I'm going to cut these potatoes up. We're just going to cut them thin, kind of like chips again, and we're going to fry these up in that skillet, and they're going to be a topping of the campfire sloppy dog. So, where was I? Oh yeah, I was talking about what's going on in the world today. First of all, before I go any further, I wanted to thank Tony Sarabusic. Tony, you tagged me on Facebook, and it was pretty hilarious. You said you couldn't wait to watch Slow Cooking with Shawn. You said it was getting to be like your Saturday afternoon routine, like your parents used to watch the Lawrence Welk show. You were getting that excited about watching Slow Cooking with Shawn. I actually grew up with my grandparents watching Lawrence Welk as well. My parents didn't continue that tradition, thank goodness. But Tony, thanks for putting me on the same level, I think, as Lawrence Welk polka and slow dance music for your grandparents. That is quite the category that I have made with Slow Cooking with Shawn. Boy, this is going to go far. I did have some really cool news this past week. I do work for the Pat Tillman Veteran Center, and we put it out on our IGTV. So follow us. It's at Sun Devil Vets. We'd love to have you. You can kind of keep up with what's going on with our nearly 10,000 military-affiliated students at ASU. But anyway, we share my slow cooking on there every week, and this past week we got picked up by ASU Online. ASU Online has 17,000 followers, and they shared Slow Cooking with Shawn. So I might actually have as many fans as Lawrence Welk, Tony, by the time this is all over, thanks to other people. So super excited about that. I did want to give a shout out to Coach Charlie Turner at ASU, the women's basketball coach. She's up for the Hall of Fame. So if you're a voter of that, man, she's a great woman. I've met her a couple of times. She loves her players. She loves ASU. She loves basketball, women. She empowers women, and I am so honored to know her. So if you have the opportunity to vote for her, or you know somebody that does, I'm just putting a plug in for Coach Charlie. She's an amazing woman. All right, so we got the onions over here frying up. I'm going to throw these. Oh, you hear that? The potatoes in. Pretty simple, regular old fried potatoes. That might be kind of loud, huh? We're going to put salt and pepper, just your normal. So we got onion, salt and pepper, olive oil, vegetable oil, butter, whatever it is that you have to help cook them. Put a little more oil in there. Good to have you guys here. Oh yeah, I was telling you about a few of the different sloppy dogs you can make. You got the OG. This one here in particular, of course, is the campfire. So if you've ever been camping, maybe you've fried some potatoes in a cast iron pot, or you've made some pork and beans and maybe some burgers. That's why I call it the campfire. So we're getting real close to getting the burger browned here. And again, I used about 2.5 pounds. Ground burger, 85%, so it's got a little oil in it because you want that. So what's the secret of my slop? Well, have you ever had sloppy joes that were just too tart They were just too oniony. They were just too sweet. There was just so many different things, and you're like, man, they were almost a good sloppy Joe, but there was just always something missing. So when I was growing up, I used to actually really love my mom's sloppy joes, and she made them. These sloppy joes were really one of the more simpler sloppy joes. So I'll tell you what we used. Mom would essentially use all those spices, and then she'd just put ketchup and mustard, and that was it. That was actually our sloppy joe. So I'm going to take this mustard. You can watch it. Squirt it in there just like that. How much did I use? No clue. I'm going to take this ketchup. That's the secret part. I can't tell you everything. And I'm just going to squirt that in there. So you'll have to time it. Go back, rewatch this on YouTube, which you can follow me on my channel. You can go back there and time how long I squeeze that thing, and you'll get a good idea about how much I'm using. So this actually right here, I could stop right now and have the sloppy joe that my mom used to make us. And honestly, really delicious too. I'm not gonna lie, I ate quite a few of them growing up, obviously, right? So you can stop right here. But I don't do that. Here's the sloppy joe that I actually learned to make, part of the sloppy joe, when I used to be a cook at the Pine Ridge Job Corps in Chadron. Let's stir my potatoes real quick. I used to cook out there, and then I'd also teach kids how to cook. That was always a lot of fun. So, we've got the ketchup, the mustard, and the spices in there. What makes my sloppy joes world famous? These two ingredients right here. I don't know if you can see that. You got tomato sauce, tomato puree. If you've ever wondered, what is this tomato puree? I've seen it on the shelf. I've never really used it. Everybody always tells me, just grab some tomato sauce. Tomato sauce is great, but tomato sauce is also bitter. So 15 ounces for this is a recipe about 15 ounces. You're gonna pour in all of the tomato sauce, just like that. Now they don't make 15-ounce cans of tomato puree. In fact, they only make these, I think these are 32-ounce cans, which is why I think I've always just done the 5 pounds of beef, because per 5-pound roll of beef, one of these of tomato sauce, one of these of tomato puree. It just helps you remember. So I'm going to use about half of this in my recipe. About 15 ounces right there. Now, tomato puree has got a little bit sweeter taste than your sauce. But, you ready for this? This is the secret recipe for my world-famous slop. Just your normal, everyday brown sugar. How much am I going to use? I don't know. You'll have to figure this out. I got a handful. Just put that in there. I'll show it to you so you see what it looks like. So there's the slop. You see that brown sugar is just going to melt on in there. I'm going to turn this down. Flip this back around so you can see me. What I've done just now is I've given you this secret recipe. I thought, you know what better time than right now? Like, if we all want to try to enjoy our life a little bit more, I thought, why don't I release this episode of Slow Cooking with Shawn? Probably the thing that made me the world famous cook that I am. And that's really just world famous in my own mind. Okay, I just want you to know that. But what I know about the sloppy dog is that it brought people together in community. Like, people would come from long ways away. In fact, even some of the times that we were playing football against opposing teams, right? Which was all the time. I don't know when we were, but people would come and seek out our tailgate because people would hear. Even people opposing teams would come over, their fans, and get our free sloppy dogs. Now, the one thing, we didn't make a lot of friends with the concession stand because people would come to the games to eat the sloppy dog and not buy food at the concession stand. So I had to kind of be careful there. But anyway, we would bring people together. Sometimes there would be times that my wife and I and our team, we'd serve upwards of 200 sloppy dogs at a Shawn State football game. And people would just hang out. They would hang out around our table, and we would have community. Food is something that can do that. I started this whole slow cooking with Shawn because I wanted to create something that would allow you and me to get on here during the pandemic, spend about 40 minutes together, hearing something positive in our day, and then learn something good about food, have a new recipe that you could try out with your family, and then you guys could sit around your table and talk about how you learned the world famous recipe for sloppy dogs. All right, I'm gonna put you right here. I'm gonna go get a bun real quick. Plate. Now, you can get your regular bun, the 8-pack or whatever the store sells. Since I'm only making, which is probably what you're going to do when you go to a tailgate, but when I'm just making a few for family, friends, like why not go the high quality bun, right? And so I got one of these hoagie rolls from the store, and you're just going to cut that down the middle. You're going to create your own hot dog bun, obviously. And it's going to have a little bit more bread, which is okay, because what's great about the sloppy dog is this bread is actually going to soak up the slop. So it all becomes part of the perfection that is the sloppy dog. And like I told you, I already went out to the grill. I grilled these up for you, so you wouldn't have to wait. The grilled Polish dog, you notice it here? Put that right there on the bun. Are you getting hungry yet? I know that if you've never seen the sloppy dog, you're getting kind of excited. So right now, all you have is your everyday average with kind of a nice roll. You have your Polish dog. Now you could do all sorts of different things here. You could go ketchup and mustard. But I decided, well, let's put the Sloppy Joe, who everybody loves a good Sloppy Joe, and the Polish dog together, and then make some toppings for it. So today, like I told you, we are doing the campfire. So I'm going to take a little slop. It's a pretty big bun. I can put a little bit more on there. Right here, what do you have? You have what's called the OG sloppy dog right here. Just your world famous slop on top of the Polish dog. What's going to make it the campfire is our next ingredients. Put some of those fried potatoes right here on top. You see that right there? Yum. And then some pork and beans right over top of that. I'm going to flip the camera around so you can see the world famous campfire sloppy dog. What do you think? Are you ready to eat that thing? Because I know that I am. So the sloppy dog. This is the campfire. You can do the OG. And then let's say you're getting close to Cinco de Mayo, and you want to do something that's kind of a Mexican flair. You can also do this with, you can add it, make the slop just a little bit spicier, and then add different taco toppings to it, like onions and lettuce and nacho cheese. It's actually perfect with nacho cheese. And then you can do that. I have the, it's called the Christmas tree sloppy dog, where you put sour cream and then red and green bell peppers sliced on top of that. That's also pretty popular. There's just different things. A kid's sloppy dog, if you want something for your kids, put a little macaroni and cheese on top of this bad boy. I honestly thought about starting a restaurant with the sloppy dogs, or a food truck. I'm still kind of contemplating a food truck. I could be pretty excited or tempted to do that. If somebody just give me a little extra cash, I might do that one day. But this here, the campfire sloppy dog, is definitely one of my favorites. And I hope that you'll take the chance to make it. I've given you the secret recipe. I did that because I care about you. I did this whole show because I care about people. How are you caring about people? What are you doing? What are you doing to make a difference in your sphere of influence? How are you earning your meritorious unit citation? What kinds of things are you doing? I remember at basic training when we used to go running. Some of the slow people or people that weren't feeling well, they'd fall out of formation when we were running. We're all in formation, we're running in cadence, and you get tired, somebody'd fall out. Do you think that we just left them there? No, we didn't. We actually turned the whole platoon around. The whole group that was running at that moment, we'd turn them around. I remember the drill sergeant, go pick them up, don't leave them behind. And we would turn the whole 50 of us around, and we'd come back around, and we would pick you up. And you know what, can I tell you? There were white people that fell out. There were Hispanic people that fell out. There were black people who fell out. But we worked together as a unit to make sure every one of us completed the run. Isn't that what we're doing? We're running this life together. You have the opportunity, and I'm going to challenge you today in Slow Cooking with Shawn. How are you living to make a difference in other people's lives? Are you just spewing crap out on Facebook? Are you actually doing something that makes a difference in people's lives? Do that. And I think maybe if we did, we'll win it. We'll win the race, if you will. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Slow Cooking with Shawn. You got to meet my grandson, Ollie. You got to see this world-famous recipe and maybe learn something, a thing or two about a thing or two. So anyway, you know what I always say. I love you. God loves you. And there ain't nothing you can do about it. All right. Peace. Take care.